Hello, and welcome back. Tonight, we investigate a modern nightmare, a mystery that unfolded not in the distant past, but in the age of the internet, capturing the obsessive attention of a generation of online sleuths. It is a story that begins with a young woman on an adventure and ends with a horrifying discovery in a place of profound darkness. To understand this mystery, we must first understand the building where it took place, a place with a history so malevolent it has become a character in its own right. This is the story of the vanishing of Elisa Lam, the horror at the Cecil Hotel. Before we meet Elisa, we must meet the Cecil. Opened in 1924 in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, the Cecil Hotel was once a grand, opulent destination for business travelers and tourists. But the Great Depression hit, and the neighborhood around it, which would become known as Skid Row, declined into a vortex of poverty, crime, and despair. The Cecil devolved with it. It became a transient hotel, a place for the desperate and the down on their luck. Its long, dark hallways and hundreds of anonymous rooms became a magnet for the darkest elements of human nature. The locals gave it a nickname, the Suicide. For decades, it was a place people checked into when they had decided to check out of life, with at least 16 documented suicides and unexplained deaths occurring within its walls. But the hotel's darkness was not just self-inflicted. It was a haven for predators. In the mid-1980s, the infamous serial killer Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, lived on the 14th floor of the Cecil during his horrific killing spree. He would allegedly dump his bloody clothes in the hotel's dumpster after a murder and walk through the lobby unnoticed. In the 1990s, the Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger, who preyed on prostitutes, also called the Cecil his home while he was active in Los Angeles. The hotel was more than just a building. It was a black hole, a place with a reputation for swallowing people whole. It was into this building, with its heavy, sordid history, that 21-year-old Elisa Lam walked in late January 2013. Elisa was a bright and adventurous student from Vancouver, Canada. She was on a solo trip down the west coast of the United States, a journey she called her West Coast Tour, which she chronicled on her personal blog on Tumblr. Her blog posts reveal a curious, intelligent, and thoughtful young woman, but also one who struggled deeply. She wrote openly and honestly about her lifelong battle with bipolar disorder and depression, her anxieties, and her feelings of loneliness. She was on medication for her condition. Her trip was an act of courage, an attempt to explore the world and herself. After visiting San Diego, she arrived in Los Angeles and checked into the Cecil Hotel, a budget-friendly option in a central location. She was last seen alive on January 31st, 2013. She had been in contact with her parents every single day of her trip, so when they didn't hear from her on the 31st, they knew immediately that something was wrong. They called the police, who launched a missing person investigation. The police searched her room at the Cecil. Her belongings, her wallet, her ID, her phone were all there. There was no sign of a struggle or foul play. They searched the hotel with sniffer dogs, but the dogs lost her scent. Elisa Lam had simply vanished. For 2 weeks, the case went nowhere. Then, on February 13th, desperate for a lead, the Los Angeles Police Department released the only clue they had, a 4-minute surveillance video. It was the last known footage of Elisa Lam, taken by a camera inside one of the Cecil Hotel's elevators on the day she disappeared. And it is, without a doubt, one of the most unsettling and bizarre pieces of footage you will ever see. The video, grainy and time-stamped, shows Elisa entering the elevator alone. She presses a series of buttons. The elevator doors, however, do not close. This is the first moment of strangeness. She waits. When the doors remain open, she cautiously steps forward and peers out into the hallway, first to the left, then to the right, as if checking for someone. Finding no one, she quickly steps back into the elevator, pressing herself into the corner as if hiding. The doors still do not close. She then steps out into the hallway again, standing just outside the elevator. It is here that her behavior becomes truly inexplicable. She begins to make a series of strange, almost balletic gestures with her hands, her fingers splayed, her arms moving in a flowing, unnatural way. She appears to be talking to someone or something just out of the camera's view. After a moment of this, she walks away to the left and out of sight. Only then, after she is gone, do the elevator doors finally close and the video ends. The video went viral almost instantly, exploding across the internet. An army of online sleuths from Reddit to YouTube became obsessed. They analyzed the footage frame by frame. Every detail was scrutinized. Was she hiding from a pursuer? Her cautious peeking and hiding in the corner suggested she was in fear for her life. Was she having a severe psychotic episode, a symptom of her bipolar disorder? Her strange hand gestures and apparent conversation with an unseen person could be signs of hallucination. Was she playing a strange game like the elevator game from Korean urban legends, which is said to lead to another dimension? Or was she interacting with a paranormal entity, a ghost from the Cecil's dark past? The internet was a frenzy of theories, each more elaborate than the last. While the world was captivated by the video, a grim situation was developing back at the hotel. Guests at the Cecil, which had been rebranded as the Stay on Main, began to complain. The water pressure in their rooms was low. More disturbingly, the tap water was discolored, blackish, and had a strange, sweet, foul taste. On the morning of February 19th, 19 days after Elisa was last seen, a hotel maintenance worker named Santiago Lopez was sent to the roof to investigate the hotel's 4 large water cisterns. The roof was supposed to be a restricted area, its doors locked and alarmed. He took an elevator to the top floor, disabled an alarm, and climbed a final staircase to the roof. He saw that the main hatch of one of the 4 8-foot-tall metal tanks was open. He climbed a ladder to look inside, and there, floating face up in the dark water, was the naked body of Elisa Lam. Her clothes, the same ones she was wearing in the elevator video, were found in the bottom of the tank, covered in a sand-like particulate. The horrifying discovery solved the question of where Elisa was, but it opened up a Pandora's box of new, seemingly impossible questions. The official autopsy report, released months later, only deepened the mystery. It concluded that the cause of death was accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a significant condition. The toxicology report found no illegal drugs or alcohol in her system, only her prescribed medication. There were no signs of physical trauma or sexual assault on her body. The case was officially closed as a tragic accident. But for those who had followed the case, this conclusion was anything but satisfying. How could it be an accident? First, how did she even get to the roof? The hotel maintained that the rooftop access doors were locked and alarmed. While a fire escape could have been used, it was a perilous climb. Second, how did she get into the water tank? The tanks were over 8 feet tall and had no fixed external ladder. A maintenance worker would need to bring his own ladder to access the top. The lid on top of the tank was a large, heavy, solid metal disc that would have been extremely difficult for a small woman like Elisa to lift on her own. And if she had gotten inside, how could she have closed the heavy lid from within? The official theory suggests that in the midst of a psychotic episode, Elisa experienced paranoia and believed she was being pursued. She fled to the roof to hide, managed to climb the tank, open the heavy lid, and get inside, perhaps to hide in the water. She then perhaps found she couldn't get out and drowned. Her nakedness could be explained by paradoxical undressing, a strange phenomenon where people suffering from extreme hypothermia feel a sensation of being hot and remove their clothes. But critics argue this theory is full of holes. It requires a series of unlikely feats of strength and agility from a person in a distressed state. This has led many to believe in a foul play theory. In this scenario, someone murdered Elisa, either in her room or elsewhere in the hotel, and then transported her body to the roof and dumped it in the tank to hide it. This would explain how she got into the tank with the lid closed. The killer would have to be a hotel employee or someone with intimate knowledge of the building's layout to access the roof and avoid detection. The main problem with this theory is the complete lack of any DNA evidence or signs of a struggle found on her body. And then there is the paranormal theory. the one that whispers from the dark history of the Cecil Hotel itself. In this view, Elisa Lam was the latest victim of the building's malevolent energy. Her bizarre behavior in the elevator was not a hallucination, but a genuine interaction with a non-human entity that was tormenting her. The elevator's failure to function, the strange gestures, her apparent fear, it was all part of a supernatural attack. The entity, this theory goes, either lured or drove her to the rooftop and to her death in the water tank, another soul consumed by the hotel's darkness. The death of Elisa Lam is a profound modern tragedy, a story of a young woman's struggle with mental illness that ended in the most horrific and public way imaginable. The official conclusion of accidental death, while perhaps the most rational, leaves too many disturbing questions unanswered. The case is a perfect storm, a vulnerable individual, a location with a genuinely evil past, and a piece of viral evidence that is undeniably, unforgettably creepy. We may know how Elisa Lam died, but the full story of why she was in that elevator, what she was seeing, and how she ended up in that water tank will likely remain a mystery. Her story is a ghost, not just in the haunted hallways of the Cecil Hotel, but in the collective consciousness of the digital age.